Get a grip on lighting coming in here at going. We always go both directions at once as well. Hey, Greg.
That's right. Always this way, that way.
This way, that way. Hey, we got Ellis Yan today and Lesley Matt from TCP. I love talking to Ellis. I could talk to that guy every day. I can see why he does those daily calls with his factory. Everyone just loves talking to Ellis. He's so awesome. Always excited, always informed, intelligent. Man, love Ellis Yan, Greg.
That's right. And Lesley brings a nice, fresh perspective to it, too. It's good to have both of them, a nice combo guest package. That's what we bring to you.
And this episode of the show, not a coincidence, is brought to you by TCPI.com. That's TCP, Greg, the craziest people in lighting.
Talking about going both directions at once. How often? So I saw a lot of 4-foot T8 light bulbs, T8 tubes, Type B. Sure.
Aren't you a hot shot, hey, big guy?
Yeah, big lighting professional here. I go in and I sell it, all right? And then I look at it and I say, they've got, I think it's that Kelvin temp. I'm going to put this tube in. You go in and they say, oh my God, that's too bright. I'm like, hold on a second. What do you mean it's too bright? Oh, you had 35K? I got to change everything? We already put 200 tubes in. Yeah, you got to change everything. So we're going to put all unboxed back in there and we got to try to resell them. And it's a nightmare. And it's happened more than once, even from an experienced lighting professional like myself. So what is TCP doing? A color selectable Type B LED tube.
Come on.
35K, 4K, and 5K on the same tube. No more jacking around with Kelvins. Just sell it, select it, install it, move on.
Oh, another hot product coming out from TCP. That's TCPI.com. I think that's a great idea, actually. I really do. It's like universal voltage ballasts. Like, thank God.
Yes.
Okay, come on, man. Like, unfortunately, they don't have a 120 to 347 volt in Canada. I talk to people, please make this, but that's such a great product. And thank you for TCP for making it. And of course, the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, folks, go to nail.org, get associated. Ellis Evolve is out. My people love it. Greg's people love it. You got to get into Ellis Evolve. Come on, man. But for right now, Ellis Yan, go in both directions at once and get a grip on lighting. Welcome back, Ellis and Lesley.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're here to talk about, I think, Greg, the most pertinent issue right now, and for distributors, is price increases. Would you say, Greg, Ehrich?
Yeah, we're kind of 2021 overview outlook is what I'm thinking as a whole, and we've talked to a few people in the industry, and a lot of it, the talk has been price increases. I got your letter. I did comment on it in another podcast. I liked it compared to some of the others, and I'll share why. But is that what you guys are seeing? Price increases coming?
Yeah, because what happens is this actually happens for the last 3-4 months. It's overall. It's to a point we cannot get more hits. I mean, the common way right now, not just the material side, we're talking about a 50% increase on the shipping cost.
It's up to 60% now.
Right, up to 60%. Okay, I mean, it used to be a 4,000 container to Cleveland. Right now, it's like $6,600. Okay, now the issue is if it's so temporary, that's one thing. But we do not see that. We do not see this is a temporary issue. I even challenged my U.S. team, China team last night. I was talking to Solomon. I said, Solomon, what's going on? I mean, the holiday season is over, right? The holiday season is over. Normally, you will drop at least 30-40% of volume in the normal time. Mm-hmm. But what happened this time? But he basically saying, he said, yeah, because we couldn't get containers here. Okay? So in other words, all the containers end up in the U.S., not coming back to China.
So they're actually like mooring balled out in the ocean, outside of the port, just sitting there because they're not being redeployed. The ships are being mooring balled and the containers aren't being redeployed back. So it's bizarre. And then that 60% includes domestic shipping as well. So once it gets here, getting it to where our customers need has increased astronomically over the last few months.
Yes, and we have a way to watch. Now, this is how interesting it is. We have to way to watch how many boats in the ocean. We know exactly how many. That's how detailed we get. It's just getting more and more and more boats in the ocean, not docked. because there's unloading issue right now. Okay, for whatever the reason for pandemic, this and that, it just dramatically slowed down. So one side, the boats cannot dock being unloaded. The other side, even dock at the loading speed is very, very slow compared used to be. And after being unloaded to our side, then the container cannot go back to China. So we really do not see any improvements between now and in the middle of the year. We just don't see
On
it.
the logistics side.
Right. We just don't see it at all. Okay.
And do you
That
think
even
that's
causes more problem to us right now.
Wait,
Oh.
they were asking.
Yeah,
Right.
that's because of when they're unloading. You're saying there's a labor issue. Is it people that are not at the ports to actually physically unload it, and that's why everybody's delayed?
We don't know exactly, but logically, got to be less people. Otherwise, the boat is there. How come the container is not off the boat? You
There's
see what
a
I mean?
huge backup, and whether it's or in the Customs Border Patrol or wherever along that chain that is, there's just a more significant delay than there used to be.
All right. So that being said, that's on one side, right? So the other side is because of that. Let's say a container used from Shanghai to Cleveland is 25 days. Now stretch out to 40 days, which means our carrying cost is high now. Extra 15 days of the carrying cost. All right, guys?
Time is money.
Because the inventory
Time is
we
money.
cannot touch.
Time is money.
Yep.
Time is money. The extra 15 days become additional carrying cost. Okay.
So-
number 3, I don't know. Yes.
I was going to say that I've noticed it. So you're noticing macroeconomic trends. You're talking about like macroeconomic trends at the top end, shipping costs, material cost, uncertainty in logistics, and these different things. I've noticed like micro things that are very strange on the other end, like as receiving calls from customers that want to buy light bulbs. Very interesting. We've been getting all manner of calls from weird areas of Canada where they don't have any light bulbs anymore. Right? So like, you get calls from a small town or in New Brunswick. Hey, do you guys have any F96 T12 daylight HO? Like New Brunswick is totally out, for example. Like there's
the reason
no
for
one
that-
in the
that-
province has any. Or like,
Right.
there's that's just one that happened this morning. So the total, all the eastern area of Canada is out of F96 T12 daylight high output in all brands. There's none in the provinces out there. And nobody can find any. And there's, that's just a one SKU old lamp. But I think that what's happening is the supply chain is collapsing in certain areas because of COVID-19 measures and restrictions. And this is causing costs to rise. So, for example, if you're in New Brunswick, you now have to pay for an 8-foot skid to go from Ontario to New Brunswick before, like in smaller quantities, before that electrical distributor or that lighting distributor in that province prices the lamp. That tripled the price of that lamp in that province. Tripled it. Just that one bulb went from $6 to $18 now. That's the cost for them to get it. And that's an interesting like micro example of the macro trends that you're talking about, the collapsing of supply chains and the way things are happening because of COVID-19. I think this is
because right, Michael, you're 100% correct. Because for us, okay, let's say you will have 2 ways to look at this. Okay, one way is take the hit. Do it. Tell people that keep your pipeline going. That's one way to do it. That's how we do it. Another way, kind of sit back and say, okay, let's weather out this whole thing. Is there potential price war coming down? Okay, see how things getting better. If you take that approach, then you're shutting your channel down.
Mm-hmm.
And plus more shipping time, go so on and so forth. And all of a sudden, okay, actually this thing's already happening, let's say, before the holidays. Holiday just make the whole thing worse. But people hoping after holidays getting better. Guess what? It's not getting better. And all of a sudden people say, oops, we're out.
That's why you ever hear like when you hear about war stories or prisoners in Vietnam and stuff like that, they always talk about how the optimists die first. You know, you ever hear that saying? People
Yeah.
that are optimistic, they always die first because they're always thinking it's going to be over by Christmas. It's going to be over by New Year's. Next year's going to be different. I'm so optimistic. For sure. This is all. And then there's other people that are pessimistic. I'm not pessimistic or optimistic. I think today has enough problems for me to solve. And I'm just going to be in today and try to make a buck. Try to sell some light bulbs today. I'm not worried about what's happening in 3 months and stuff I can't control. So for you guys to say there's a price increase, anybody that disputes it is tone deaf, doesn't know what's going on, is not operating their business and not listening to their customers, because all of the customers on my end are also prepared for a price increase. They're ready for it too.
Right. So approach you are taking, actually, we took that approach in December, beginning of December, because like you said, we tell people the truth. This is going to happen. Not like we're the fortune teller here. We're just facing the reality, guys. Here's what's happening. Okay?
Exactly.
Because we need to keep the pipeline going. Another thing actually is pretty bad. Okay? A year ago, exactly a year ago right now, exchange rate is 127. Today, this morning I just checked, exchange rate is 126.47.
I think it's hilarious how Americans have no idea about world currencies. They only think, most Americans think only in US dollars. I'm a Canadian, so I'm always aware of the currency exchange between the American and the Canadian dollar. And, but that's a massive impact on
That's a massive impact.
Massive impact.
Huge. It's a huge impact. It's a huge impact. You're talking about $7 to $8, or 7 to 8%. It's gone. Gone. It's over. So this is we are okay. Like you guys said, you know, we as a company, we tell people the truth. Doesn't matter they like or not. Okay, we stand firm. We make sure our customer being serviced. Okay, we keep things going, but we also know it's tough. I personal opinion is between now and at the end of the June, first half of this year, nothing is going to get any better. Nothing. I'm just hoping things stay the way it is right now. Stay the way it is. It's not getting worse. I'm be very happy things not getting worse.
It's actually easier for things to get worse than for things to get better. Like a lot of people think it's going to go back to normal or whatever they're talking about. My advice to everybody is you're in today, okay? Right now. You worry about selling light bulbs right now, buddy. Pick up that phone, make that call, make that sales call. Don't worry about what's going to happen in 3 to 6 months because nobody has any idea. Check your cash flow. Make sure you have cash in the bank because it can very easily get worse. Easily get worse. It cannot easily get better. Those two things are different. We need good leadership. We need luck. We need a lot of things to happen for things to get better. And so you should definitely be in the day today and dealing with what's happening right now and not worry about, it's going to get better in 3 months. Well, no, I'm not so sure.
No.
Yeah, and I'm concerned that we're going to have a lot of people that look at it that way and then continue to quote and demand and request at lower and lower levels just because they're living in, well, it should get better or we want it to get better, where the reality is the cost is the cost and there's only so much we as a manufacturer can do to change those costs, and it's just the reality of what's happening.
Well, there's a positive spin here too, and a lot of people don't realize this, but most distributors have their pricing as a percentage of the cost from the manufacturer, right? Mm-hmm. So when a manufacturer says we're increasing the price, well, as long as you've structured it correctly to be a percentage, then your gross profit is going to go up.
Correct.
If you increase the price.
Oh, you have to. You have to.
I know.
So let's say whatever you mark it up 1.35%, say like whatever your mark, 1.3 to 1.6. That's a multiplication number. So if the price goes up from your manufacturer, your price should go up to your clients. It's very simple. And then the reality is you will make more money. That's actually more actual gross profit. So I used to pretend prices went up. I used to pretend it. Back when I had more sales, the prices went up. It's percentage. I'm not totally like when it comes to these things, I'm not afraid to do things like that. I think that's kind of funny because then you force the salespeople. You tell them, yeah, there was a price increase, so now you have to sell for more. Whoa! And then they go sell for more, and you move on with your life, and that's it.
They complain for a week and then they're good.
Exactly. Prices go
Yeah.
up. Prices go up. It happens.
The interesting thing that I hope for the lighting market that happens too is that this race to the bottom kind of stops, because I feel like as an industry we've been in that huge, what's the cheapest, what's the cheapest, what's the cheapest, and hopefully by some of these price increases coming out, that will stop a bit.
Yeah.
Because we can't maintain it as an industry.
Can I say one positive thing? It's kind of real positive things, okay?
Well, I thought that was a positive.
That was pretty
Yeah,
good.
That's probably
No, raise the bottom, but there's a reason to that so-called raise to the bottom, okay? Let's say a year ago, or even 9 months ago, a year ago, I mean, all our distributors getting the email for all the Chinese manufacturers.
Yep.
Right?
So many.
That's the part of the race down to the bottom.
Sure.
The Chinese quoted themselves $1 less than the other. They just go on, right? So that's why
I'm sure you guys got those.
you
all
guys
the
got
time.
those too all the time, right?
All the time.
Then, the distributor kind of using that as a weapon to deal with us. Say, hey, so and so has a low price, this and that.
Mhm.
So among the electrical distributor, among ourselves, our competitors with the competition, now you put another layer from the China side, right?
Mhm.
That portion is gone, right? Because today, all our electrical distributor is really want to have the local service now. So they're kind of not really looking so-called China manufacturing as their source anymore.
Yeah.
Because they cannot deal with the China source anymore. They have to buy locally. How soon can you ship? Okay, are you ship on time? Are you ship today? We want to using you as our warehouse. Blah blah blah. So this local service become critically important as today's environment.
Can I comment on
So-
that quickly, Greg? I know you've been jumping in here, but I would like to start a backlash. So one of the most popular business terms in America since about the launch of Google in 1998 or whatever is the phrase creative destruction. Okay. And I am so sick of hearing about creative destruction and innovation and how Silicon Valley is going to save the world and all this sort of stuff. You know what? Creative destruction has caused so many problems for consumers in the lighting business in the last 10 years. And I like to call those people that become, overnight sensation Chinese importer manufacturer people. You have 50 grand, you go buy a bunch of stuff from China, bring in a container, and now you're a manufacturer. I call those guys Johnny come lately in the lighting marauders. These people that, if the sooner we get them out of the industry, the better off everyone is going to be. From the healthier, from the manufacturers to the distributors to the agents to the contractors, and then most importantly to the end user customers, because that creative destruction, anyone can start a business and be disruptive, and all this has caused so many problems in lighting. Now, I don't know about other industries, but in lighting, it's been a disaster for the strong. And so I would like to say that phrase, I want it out of lighting, creative destruction. I don't like it. I think it's a bad way to look at the industry. Greg, Ehrich.
You
Okay.
are absolutely right. This is truly bad.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's always good or bad. This situation, pandemic happened right now, really help us to eliminate that, to come back to the normal life in a way. Not normal by the normal life, normal lighting life, okay? Which has to be locally service. People for a short period of time forgot this service, okay? Because this destruction come in, try to turn us upside down, inside out. They forgot how important service is, this and that, blah, blah, blah. So yes, you're 100% right.
Yeah, I want to ask something about destruction, but before I do, one more thing on the supply chain. Chinese New Year is coming up.
Woo!
Is that going to be
It
worse
doesn't
this
really
year?
matter.
Is there?
You see,
Doesn't matter.
this
Okay.
Chinese New Year, okay, let me tell you this. There's a misperception about the Chinese New Year in the past, okay? Because the Chinese national holiday is 7 days, okay? Why this Chinese New Year become perception about, oh my goodness, things will slow down? The reason for that is very simple, because some people would like to go home a week before the Chinese New Year, and come back the week after week after week. So that's a perception. Okay. So
just like we do around Christmas, where
Right.
a lot of people
Yeah.
take like December 15th and then they don't come back till after the beginning of the year.
Okay.
Same kind of deal.
So for us, it's very simple. All our employees in China, they go home the day before the Chinese New Year's Eve. Everybody coming back. Everybody follow the 7 days of stuff. Okay? So in order to do that, the company has to take a lot of responsibility. For instance, 2 months in ahead, we basically buy all the train tickets, this and that. So we organize everybody, say, okay, when do you go home? When do you come back? We will make sure all those guys get their tickets, this and that, everything's done. So you're able to bring people back on time and this and that. Okay? So for us, there's not really interrupting. Just to think about this, 7 days. You know what happened during the Chinese national holiday? That was a 7 days too. Nobody talk about that. It just happened on October 1st because October 1st, just next to another holiday called the Moon Festival. If you add all those holidays together, actually China during the first week of October, the entire country was off, but nobody will talk about. Now, the Chinese New Year, also 7 days. Now it's a big talk about it. Actually, no big deal. That's number one. Number one. So that's from a manufacturing point of view. Okay. Number two. Okay. Number two. All we worry about is when does the Chinese customs open up? That's critical because otherwise you cannot get your things out. And the Chinese customs usually follow the national holidays. So on the 8th day, they are open. So not really there's issue over there, okay? But this year even more interesting because we can have a container stuck in the harbor more than 10 days. I mean, so what's the big deal about 7 days on the Chinese New Year? You know what I mean? It's like, So that's how we see it, okay?
I would be more concerned about there being bigger, or always concern is when containers aren't moving at the speed that we want the containers to move and it gets out of our control as a manufacturer. Because yes, we might say our people get the national holiday and we help to organize and execute it so that it's a smooth transition for them. But if their harbor labor and their people don't move at that same pace, that's where we see the delays, is when the containers aren't able to be filled, when they aren't able to turn. Yes, customs is open, but are their group of individuals that are moving those containers onto the ships moving at that same speed?
So normally this is what we tell people, okay? Yes, because this perception issue. We tell people you need to kind of increase your forecast before Chinese New Year by 1 week, okay? So we can load it up for you just for that week. Then we will catch up right after that week. So based on that, so far, even our largest account work out very nicely, okay? We don't really have any panic issue, this and that, blah, blah, blah. On the manufacturing point of view right now, China, not the Chinese manufacturing base still humming. Okay, the country still have some issues about pandemic, but you know what? The Chinese government able to handle, and all our people over there, it's all cool and no issues at all. So we do not have any issues. I mean, we still do what we used to do. We let people go home 2 days before Chinese New Year, and we have to tell everybody. And you know what? We even do an incentive. Okay, if you come back on time, we will give people about $100. If you come back on time.
Nice. All right. So no concern there. But how about with the now on the raw material price and the increase in that cost? As a manufacturer, is there going to be less innovation on product and more focus on what you have currently? Or do you see more, or where do you see that going because of prices increase?
So
Such a great question.
yeah, and we're a little different. We always take a different approach on things, and where others might say we're going to consolidate and we're going to eliminate, we're over there going, what else can we build? Where's a market? What can we service? And how can we help to differentiate ourselves even more as we come out of whatever this is right now to offer better service, more innovative products, and more interesting things in the marketplace? So yes, the raw materials thing is an issue with price points. However, it hasn't stopped us as TCP from coming out with new products or different ideas.
You cannot beat on the same thing again. Metal is metal. There's nothing you can do about it. If you want to have exactly same products, and hopefully you can get another 3 to 5% off on a yearly basis, it's a dream. It won't happen. Okay. Now, that being said, we do have issue on the material side. So our team right now work extremely hard. That's why I don't sleep at night. Okay, is this okay? You look at application. Okay, then you have to using your imagination. Is any other way I can deliver the lights will reduce my cost? You have to look at another way. For the next 90 days, we're going to release some very creative
More
products. Very creative. Do the exactly same thing, but reduce the cost. But you cannot beat on exactly same thing. Okay? No, you cannot do that because it's impossible. I told people I cannot rob the bank. The only thing you want me to, but I can give you a very, very creative alternative solution here. Okay? Which is able to accomplish that. So that's what we're doing. So like I said, in 90 days, you are going to see TCP dramatically releasing a huge line of the products. They perform the same way, but they look a little bit different. Okay? That's how we do it. Now, we don't know how the market is going to respond to that. We will see.
Yeah, and I think one of the trends I'm seeing or we're seeing in the industry is color selectable on a lot of items, including something I know you guys have coming out. We're not going into product as much here, but that should cost you more to make that because now you're offering one SKU that has all these different colors. So you have to put a lot more material in it. It's great for me as a distributor. And an end user has flexibility, but from your standpoint, you're paying even more than you used to.
You see, it's called perception issue, okay? It's kind of weird. You ask yourself, if you look at the color selectable downlights, and you ask yourself, you look at your marketing data, you ask yourself, what is the most popular color? I don't know about Canada, okay? In the US, we find out 70% is 3000K, 6 inches. Okay? Now, if a 3000K, 6 inches is your 60 to 70% of the volume, why do you have to put a 50% more cost to make a color selectable?
With 5 colors.
With the 5 colors. For what? And you cost people $3 more to do it. So, we went both directions at the same time. You want a color selection? Here's color selection. However, I have an alternative for you. It's a low cost, one color. Here we go. That's how we do it.
You know what's interesting about that?
Does that make sense?
Totally.
Sense.
I'm gonna tell you a little anecdote. Okay, so when in 2007 to 8, I started to buy my dad's shares in Atlas Lighting. Okay, so I got all excited. I think I was 27. I don't know, 27, something like that. 28. And I was all reared up. And so I looked at our shipping and all this kind of thing. And I called this consultant and I talked to him. And everybody in Nailed knows this consultant. But I'm not giving him any free press because I like him, but I'm not going to give him any free publicity here. But he said to me, your company's not big enough to be efficient. And I thought that was super interesting, right? It's like an interesting idea. Like in order for you to do something, to think like that, you need scale, but also scope and scale together. You need to be able to have the volume of orders and the volume of customers in order to think that way. If you're not big enough and you're not and your product line is whatever, the depth of that's depth. I mean, you have to carry those SKUs. I mean, most manufacturers are not going to be big enough to say, yeah, we're going to do both. We're going to, what was the name of both directions at once? Both are good ideas. That's an interesting way to look at it, but you need scale and size to be able to do it. You can't do it any other way.
Correct.
All right, Greg,
so
back to you.
We do. We follow the training. We do CCT with every single product you can think about, but it will also pay attention to the 60 to 70%, what that is.
Now, you guys have a big line of commercial product, and you also have residential. With the
Correct.
COVID-19, and a lot of people were staying home. Did your residential sales go up compared to your commercial
Yes.
last year?
Yeah.
Significantly?
Yeah.
About 30%.
30%.
Wow.
That's why we talk about this color flip, right? That's why we got a huge response back from the color flip, which is 2741 and 275000. So that's why we're helping people have two colors in their house in one light bulb using the switch on the wall. So that's also kind of matched to what you're talking about. People stay home longer. People work at home longer. Now they need a different lighting, but they only have one socket. So what do? So that's this concept. It's called the color flip we put together. It's getting very popular now. Everybody's wow, this is really cool.
Yeah, because before people weren't in their homes long enough to really care. It's like get the light on, do
Correct.
my thing, get out. Now they're here all the
Correct.
time. So.
Yes,
Yeah.
you got it.
They're using spaces that they might not have used before too, or use your dining room for Thanksgiving and Christmas, but now you're using it as your workstation or your homeschool station where you're actually utilizing that. And it's like, oh, that old incandescent that I never turned on actually burned out. Now what do I do?
Then I would say, hey, I'm working a school day using 4100K. The kids get used to it. There's 4100K in the school classroom, right? So you want to give them some steady, okay? That's why this color flip can be very easy. All you have to do is
Switch on the wall.
switch on the wall.
That's
and your
where
work is done.
that's where the sorry to interrupt you, Ellis, but it just occurred to me. That's where like human-centric lighting and health effects and all these types of things, the idea of consumer choice and preference and human-centric lighting are not, or like, controlled lighting so you can set it to what you want. Those two things are opposite goals. You can't have those two things together.
Correct.
Right? So if you say to someone, we're going to have what we want, because we've had people like live in that cognitive dissonance. Like you can't hold those two ideas at once, right? Because they don't work together. I think HCL, the biggest challenge, or integrated lighting, whatever the name of this is, the biggest challenge is overcoming personal preference. They have to be able to like say to people, Greg, no, I know you want 41K or 27K, but it's 1 o'clock in your latitude and longitude is this. So the sunlight is actually 5,000K right now. So that's what you should have. And people are going to be like, what is this guy talking about? I want it to be 27K. Or I want it to be 41K. I don't care what position the sun is at or whatever it is with HCL. That's going to be a really difficult thing to overcome in the sales
That's
process.
we come in. We to tell people, say, screw those guys, okay? You don't need anything of those. All you have to do is flip the switch on the wall. You get it. Now move on. Have a good life.
Yes, I actually think I think that most people are going to prefer that, Greg. They're going to be like, I don't just follow the sun and it changes. I just want it to be the color I like. I want it to be this color.
Exactly.
Well, and we've had a lot of people come back to us and say, I don't like it. It's too blue, or it's not this, or it's not that. It's interesting.
For instance, Canada, okay? I think in Canada, because they are more north than we are, you have sometimes in the wintertime, people like to have a more 5,000K.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So for that. So again, in one light bulb, wintertime, you turn up, you flip into 5,000K. The winter's over, you flip back to 2,700.
I think the only way to truly, and hey, look, there's going to be some people that, where they're going to come on and argue with me. I think if you want to have human-centric lighting or health effects of lighting, you got to go with skylights and sun tunnels. Like you actually have to bring the natural light inside. I think the idea of like following the sun and this sort of stuff, I don't know if people are going to buy it that much. I sell lighting to people, the person who uses it every day. And if I can't do it and Greg can't do it, I don't know, man. I don't know if anybody
I tell you,
can
but
do
try our, we will retrofit your two houses with our color flip, okay? Hey, you guys will love it. You don't need anything. Just flip,
But that's not human-centric lighting. That's choice. That's consumer preference or personal preference, right? I think they're going to have a hard time. It's going to be there's something's going to have to happen to make to overcome the personal preference thing, which is so powerful. People want to choose.
And there's that whole cost associated with it too. We haven't seen a lot of people want to invest in that. Like they want it in theory because it sounds cool, but they don't want to invest the additional
Right.
resources.
I call that as a poor man's choice. Okay.
The flip.
You just keep
The
the
flip.
That's
in
right.
there, Alex.
Right.
And Ellis, we've asked you in the past on trends too with fixtures and bulbs. Kind of, if you categorize it as that, I know some fixtures are kind of kits, retrofits, whatever you might call it. What are you guys seeing as a manufacturer? More people buying bulbs or tubes and that type versus fixtures?
Well, because there's trendy stuff going on here is this. If you look at the retrofit market today, okay, if you talk about utility program, okay, if you calculate all the costs, including how to take the old body out, including how you're going to dispose that old body, if you add all the costs out, actually fixture is very expensive today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
That's why today the TA tubes will still live and humming and happy for simple reason. Because this, in terms of labor cost, TA tubes retrofitted is the cheapest, easiest way to do it.
Not only
Well,
that,
it
though.
comes back to that choice. It's back to choice and preference too, where you have that contractor, you have that facility manager, you have that building owner wanting to just say, yeah, that sounds great, but I want to do this or I want to do that. Too many people want that choice of flipping a fixture or putting in bulbs. It's really interesting to watch.
So end up with the same thing. TA tubes the same way, light bulbs the same way, filament bulbs the same way. I'll give you one, guys, another idea. If you look at Las Vegas, we see more and more light bulb instead of fixture because they want to still keep the same looking. It's impossible to put a modern fixture into those buildings. So you see, I'm almost would say at this point 50-50 split. 50-50 split.
I think the industry has gotten over, and it's starting to bleed into the consumers. Has gotten over the idea that LEDs last forever. Big problem there, right? So people drank that Kool-Aid, and Greg and I were always suspicious of that. Like anybody that's sold light bulbs for a long time and knows how they calculate rated average life, so how that calculation is made, right, would know that, come on, man. I've been in business for 350,000 hours, this company, Atlas Lighting. That's a lot of light bulbs burning out. Why are LEDs going to be any different? I think it's more responsible for this industry to guide the consumers towards modular, things that can be replaced, and you don't have to throw out a whole fixture.
Correct.
I think that's more responsible, environmentally responsible, waste, costs, for a bunch of different reasons. And so, I'm very, I think our industry needs to go back and turn back towards those ANSI codes, the way in the future you're going to have to want to change this. And however that translates into the world of LED, I think it's very important.
One sub or antidote to that is we do our yearly meeting every January, kind of review our last year and all that stuff. And we have a form on our website that we have as a defective form. If somebody calls in and says, I have something defective, they fill out this form, then we submit it to whoever the manufacturer might be that we got it from and work it through that angle. 3 years ago, we had 450 claims. This year we had 80. So I think that's kind of trending too, along with what you said, Michael. Is people are starting to understand that, they are going to go bad. And in the past, it was like, well, these only lasted me 4 years. Well, that's 4 years is pretty good. I know it's 5 year, but whatever it might be. So I think that's what you're seeing is that trend, and I agree on that. That we see that. How about from your standpoint on TCP? Are you guys getting more or less effective claims in the past? I know you're good. We don't have product go bad, but you get a lot of people asking you about warranty or getting into the specifics on warranties.
We're starting to see more people that were early adopter LED people come to us and say, when did I buy this? Is it still under warranty? Is it still, am I covered? We're starting to see a lot of that, more so than an increase in like claims. And I think we're starting to see a lot more people that went one direction, as far as like integrated track heads, coming back to us and saying, what's the screw and socket equivalent? Did you convert them back? I think that's an interesting thing that we see, or I get requests for all the time.
Yeah. No, it's low. But again, I mean, we've been doing this for so long, so we have to deal with the history. Like you guys said, the first generation of LED out there for how many years now? Okay, it has been for about almost 10 years. So we got lots of those things. We try to do as much as we can. But people accepting, like you said, say this should last forever. No, they don't.
We see a lot of it on the retail side
Right.
too, where we see a lot of people come to us, and for some reason, like we have people coming to us for other manufacturers' things too, which I think is interesting and bizarre. But they keep coming and saying like, "Well, I bought this 4 years ago, and it burned out, and the guy that sold it to me said it lasts forever." Well, number one, you're calling the wrong company, and we're really sorry to hear that.
But we still try to do the best we can.
But that
Yeah.
was the, you know what
A
though?
little bit.
That was the communications even from like in 2015, 2016. The communication from many manufacturers was that idea. This idea of, if you put it in and you're going to retire by the time. There was a lot of that at Light Fair in 2014, 15, 16.
Sure.
And then you started to see people a little bit backpedal. Now we're going to backpedal on that. Yeah, it's not 100. It's more like 50. Nah, it's kind of like, and so when I'm talking to customers, I say like an LED T8 tube is like the life of 2 fluorescent tubes.
Correct. Exactly. And for your guys' information, Lesley just announced last week because her little baby, she started 4 months ago, which she created a TA CCT.
Oh yeah.
3541 5000 will be available next month.
I don't have children. I have products.
Right. So that's a very
awesome.
nice one. It's a cool one.
Yeah.
We have a type of B, 3541 5000. Just in case people like to have just carrying one. So here's the product.
No, that's good. And my last question is now on the commercial side. We talked a little about residential. Do you think in this year, and I know we're just guessing here, but we're just going to talk about as the renovation side of things, is it going to increase because we need to change workspaces that people are in, or is it going to decrease because no one's going to the workplaces? Or is it just, at some point it's going to change, but where are we at with that? Mike, you got any opinion before we get into Ellis and Leslie?
Yeah. I think that
Ask the question more clearly. Ask the question more clearly. Ask it
Okay.
exactly.
The commercial renovation side of business, retrofits, which we're in, is that business going to, is there an increase going to happen because we need to change all the workplaces we're in? Or is there going to be a decrease because no one's going to the workplaces that they're in?
I personally think it's going to change. So we're starting to see a lot of, places, at least here, and looking at what's happening around the country and speaking with other people. You're seeing a lot of places that have closed down, opening back up as something different, kind of changing the way that they're doing things, flipping things over. And with that, they go through major renovations. So office spaces, I don't know, but you see things like restaurants, retail locations, those places morph and transition. At least we're seeing a lot of that in Northeast Ohio. This place closed, and now 3 months later it's opening as this, or this chef shut down their big restaurant, and now they're flipping it to a fast casual experience. So that's a complete renovation of that space. So we're starting to see that market change a bit. The one that's interesting to me is I'm getting more and more requests through my salespeople for warehouses and large facilities that are still being built or being changed over, and they want to change over to LED. So I think it's a little soon to tell, but there's a lot of change happening and a lot of things brewing on that project side.
For sure.
Well, I think Ellis, we need your comment.
Mike, you go first, then I go second. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So I think that the idea of there's a lot of people. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a statistic. Okay, right now, 99.9968% of Ontario's population does not have COVID-19. Okay, 99.9968. Okay. So that's I just inverted their numbers. So they're giving people the case count, and then I took the case count and I divided it by the population, because the case count sounds high, so it scares people. But then when you divide it by the population, it actually doesn't really seem that high, to be honest with you.
No, it's like a flu.
Okay. I think it is. I've had COVID-19. I didn't have any symptoms at all. So I don't even know if it is like a flu. It depends on your age. I don't want to get into COVID, though. But into like discussing what
Can we
it
have your
is.
blood? Can we
What's that?
suck your blood? Can we suck your blood? Yeah,
Yeah.
you have antibodies. You have to share with
Hold on.
us. Okay? Yeah. Okay.
I'm rolling up my sleeve anyway. So, but no, I, for me, I think the issue is that, but because of the way this has been presented and the reaction of our politicians to it, okay, our leaders. So I was talking about leadership, okay, the reaction of our politicians to it. And then we have a whole other conspiracy side of it that's talking about how horrible the vaccine is, and everybody's putting out the same numbers differently. Like they're taking the same numbers and they're presenting them differently, which is what I just did. Let's just take the same number but present it in a different way and see how people feel about it. I think humans are not stupid. People are not stupid. Okay, what's happening is everybody's waiting and waiting and waiting, and for this vaccine and and this sort of stuff. I think there's one thing. I think people will either be permanently scared to be with other people. There'll be a certain percentage of the population that permanently has PTSD from this and will never go. That would go to a mall before, wasn't like this before, okay? But now, because of COVID and masks and all this stuff, will never go back to a mall again, or a movie theater, or a hockey game, or a football game. They just won't do it. They're scared permanently. They literally have PTSD from it. Okay. But I think there's a lot of people that are waiting for like the lighting industry and other industries to come up with a little bit of hygiene theater for them. And I say this with all seriousness, right? So we know that upper air UVC disinfection actually works. We know that surface disinfection can work in certain applications. What we need to do, in my opinion, is deploy it and then make it theatrical. And I hate to say, that's the only word I can think of. I wish there was a better word. But like, let's say you have an upper air disinfection machine on at the hockey game. We just have all those green lights on that say air is being purified of COVID-19 because the green light is on. And I think most people, there'll be a section that's totally completely devastated for the rest of their lives, sadly. But I think most people will be like, yeah, great. See the light's on. Let's do it. Let's party. Let's go to a hockey game. The green light's on. You see the green light, whether that's from HVAC or lighting or whatever. We need to signal to people that we've done something so that now they can enter the space. And I think the vaccine is that. I think a lot of this vaccination stuff is a way to accelerate or do something to give people a sense that now this is over. So move on, right? I hope, that's my hope. And I think the lighting industry can help facilitate we were talking about the 330-300. Remember that, Greg? You guys know the 330-300? That rule? 3% is energy and maintenance, 30% is real estate, 300 is the cost of the people in the building. If we can't get the people in the building, none of the other two matter anyway, right? So we've inverted that. So as a society, we have to signal people with something to tell them that it's actually safe. Even if it's only 3% safer, or I hate the word safe now, but even if it's like 3% of the air is disinfected, if it's doing something that increases the purity of the air, increases the disinfection of the toilet or whatever it is in the public space you're trying to do, we need to advertise that's happening so that people can then be signaled that now it's safe. And whether or not it's 3% or 10% or 15% or 40% more safe, does the percentage really matter? Or is the fact that it's efficacious matter? That's what I think has to happen. And if we do that, I think the vast majority of people will return to going to hockey games and malls and movie theaters and everything else because they're going crazy at home right now. That was a little bit longer than I wanted, Ellis. But I think...
Okay, can I have my turn now?
Yes, go.
Yes.
I haven't said anything yet. Okay, you are very philosophical. You are very your analysis is very correct. But I'm coming from the other end, pure number end. Okay, I believe if you look at the entire commercial, look at today. Okay, the penetration for the retrofitting maybe I would say 25% to 28%. So in other words, you have a more than 70% has not been touched yet. Okay, let's start with that. So based on Michael, what you're talking about right now, okay, doesn't matter what happens, just by the fear you're just talking about. Okay, I instantly discount this 70% by 10% because by perception things will slow down a little bit. But even your discount 10%, the open market is still huge because penetration level is very low. So based on that, if you look at open or overall market, it's there. But if you look at individual company, that's a different story. Totally different story. Okay? Like we go back to the beginning of the show. Some people feel, oh my God, what's going to happen? So they pulling back. We take a different approach. We using this opportunity, improve our operation, improve our customer service, improve the cost of the products. We bring in new products in. So we position ourselves better than before. That's how we see it. So for us, for myself, Lesley, the team here, we see a huge opportunity for us. But maybe not for other people. But overall, like I said, okay, by perception, because Michael, you're absolutely correct. By perception, I think the overall market will drop 10%. Just by perception. Simply said, it just things are slowing down. Just slowing down. Okay? I think by human nature, we are human. We love to talk to each other. We love to kind of drive each other's nuts. Okay? That's human nature, which means eventually everybody have to come back again. Right? Oh, yeah, you will still have a few days working at home, this and that. But by human nature, I said, we need to kind of communicate it in person. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, I look forward to seeing you again in person, Ellis Yan, and sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Right. So we come back.
Oh,
okay,
that's right.
Come on, man. And Lesley Matt, I want to meet you as well. I have never met you. And of course, Nikki Toigu and all the great people at TCP. Thank you very much, as always, Ellis and Lesley, for coming on the show and spending some time to chat with us. For being guests on the show, and we love having you. So can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, we really enjoy talking to you guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Sounds good.
TCPI.com, baby. Greg, coming in hot. Color selectable tubes.
That's right. Make it easy for you again. And I've said this before about TCP, but what they do is make you just go out and sell the product, sell the concept, sell the idea of it. And then don't worry about all the little detail. Like, what color do I need? You can pick. Here it is. Pick. Which one do you want? You want that office in 35, that one in 4? No problem.
I want all 3 tubes, different colors in one fixture. Go for it, man.
You can do that.
Go for it. Yeah.
So 4-foot type B, color selectable tube. Awesome product. I'm excited about it coming in.
Yeah. And you know what? It's something that you got to have in your quiver, man. That little you go after it. So go to tcpi.com. I know Scotty's showing all you peeps out there the cut sheet. If you're watching it on video, the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, man. TCP's been a long time vendor member of that organization, of our organization, Greg. And why should you be a member? You know why? Because we worked with other electrical distributor associations and that to get lighting distributors declared essential services in most states. That's a big one. There's something we did for you just last year. And then on top of that, you got to remember, we got all manner of educational programs, and being a member of NAILD makes you cool. That's right. That's the most important part. You get to be super cool. You get to be a super cool cat. And come on down. When these conventions start up again, we'll teach you the secret handshake. But for right now, go to naild.org and check it out. And of course, Ellis Yan and Lesley Matt. What a combo that is, Greg.
Great podcast. Glad you listened.
Boom. See ya, buddy.
Written on the rectory wall, there's a sign there for all. You are lost, Lord is there to find you.